She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. We're really, really glad that you decided to join us today. In fact, thank you. Thanks for joining us again. If you watched yesterday's show and the day before and the day before, and you're planning on watching tomorrow and the day after, then you are hooked. No. If you do like the show, we really want to hear from you, though. We want to know what it is that you like about it and why do you keep tuning in. But if this is your very first time, we have a daily radio and television show that also shows up on YouTube, on our website, DaniJohnson.com, and a podcast and a bunch of other places. But nonetheless, today we're going to be talking about your success. As usual, that's what we talk about every day. But we talk about it through different scopes. I don't believe in keeping up with the Joneses because the Joneses are broke. It's a big lie. It's a big facade. My husband and I were trying to fit in with the Joneses early on in our careers as entrepreneurs. And then we came to the revelation of this is lame. This doesn't work. And we decided to define success for us. And for me personally, success is having a harmonious marriage that's hot in the bedroom and in other places too. And it's also having amazing relationships with your kids as they're learning to live life, as they're making their own choices as young people or adults or even as little babies. I got 8 grandkids. I've got 5 kids. And just being able to walk through that with my identity, not being tied up in my kids' lives, but being able to be an advocate for them no matter what choices it is that they're making. To me, success is having a fulfilling career as well, but not being owned by that career. I've worked part-time majority of my time as a CEO of many companies for the last 29 years. I had one little short stint where I was an idiot completely and I worked 16 to 18 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week. But 21 years ago, I went, no more. No, thank you. I only did that for about 2 years, I think, year and a half, 2 years. So anyway, on this show every single day, it's about you, and it's about you designing your life. It's about you living it according to your design, how you were created, what you are called to, what your destiny is, because there is a destiny calling out of you. And every day we bring a topic that's either about money, about career, work life, your work life. So giving you tips for succeeding in your work life, whether you own the business or you work for someone else that does. We have a spiritual equipping show every Wednesday. We also have a show where we bring you real live stories of people from our supportive community of viewers of the Dani Johnson Show who now have taken the information they've learned from the show and have become incredibly successful. So it's an inspirational time. And then, of course, on Fridays, we talk about family. The topic is all about family, marriage, relationship, and things like that. So every day there's a different theme, but it all has to do with success and how do you live out success in each one of those areas of your life. So in this case, check this out. Over 20 million Americans over the age of 12 have an addiction to drugs or alcohol. Did you hear what I just said? Oh my God. That's crazy. Over 20 million Americans over the age of 12. So right away, I went and I asked Theresa, my coworker, I said, wait, but how many are from the age of 12 to 17? 2 million. So 2 million 12 to 17-year-olds currently are addicted to drugs or alcohol and need some kind of treatment. Wow. Can you believe that is so terrible? Listen, I was one of those kids that grew up in the home with the drug addicts. Wow. So when I look at 20 million Americans that are needing treatment right now, wow, man, I know the pain and the suffering that's happened on the entire family as a direct result of how drugs and alcohol can grip somebody and rip them out of a good life and put them into the pit of despair. I see it all the time because it's involved in my family, obviously. So we had some questions. I'm pulling my iPad up here because I have access to talking to people through this thing. But I have Wendy on the phone. Wendy commented on Facebook and decided to call in on this. Wendy Grady from Baltimore, Maryland. So this issue of, because when I interviewed Jen Kimura, and she was, a functioning meth addict, if those two words actually go together, but she was a meth addict, all skinnied out and everything, but she was holding down a job. And so, Wendy, you responded to that like, hey, yeah, And I'm familiar with that kind of a thing. So is it that you were an addict and you held down a job?
Yes, I was a functioning meth addict and cocaine addict at 24 years old. I got hooked on these drugs in college because I wanted to be more successful. I had a goal of getting straight A's one semester in college, and I did that using crystal methamphetamine. However, I went to work in the corporate headquarters of a legal department for a long-distance company, and I began to have paranoid delusions after a couple of years, thinking that they were conspiring against me. So the drugs ended up working against me, of course.
Wow.
However, there were years where I went to work every day and functioned on these drugs. But I can tell you by 29 years old, I had had enough.
Wow. Wendy, hold on. I want to hug your neck. Okay, I'm hugging you. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Wendy, this is amazing to me. Oh my gosh. So let's back up. This is amazing. You see, most of the drugs that I've heard about, meaning my personal experience with it myself, of my use of drugs, which was never, actually, I think I might have did meth one time with my first husband. Is it something like you cook in a glass pipe?
No, I snorted it.
You snorted it, but I'm saying, do people do anything with smoking it?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
so
they do, but I never went there.
Yeah, I think I did that once with my first husband, who was the guy who left me homeless, by the way.
Yes.
So anyway, I think I did. Anyway, so you are a straight A student.
Yeah, so this is
in college.
Success-driven drug abuse. You see, it's not about getting high. It's about having more energy to focus. Yeah.
See, the place where I come from, it is because people have had such terrible childhoods, right? They have so much guilt and shame, and they're just burying themselves under it. Or I've heard in cases like one of my coworkers, Mary Wather, who was just felt like a failure, always thought she was going to be a failure. People told her she's going to be a failure, and she kind of buried that with fun, drinking, and drugs. I think it was just drinking, actually. She's an alcoholic. And so her thing was like just masking pain, exactly masking that. But in your case, your definition of success was getting straight A's.
Correct.
Being the best student you could be, right? So you could get the best possible job and make really, really good money, right?
Right. To impress the family.
To impress the family. Tell me more about that. Why did you feel like you needed to do that?
My grandfather was a self-made millionaire. Mm-hmm. He made it in real estate, and I wanted to impress him because he paid for my education.
So it was pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pressure. So
pressure.
Wow. So pressure then. So how did you come in contact with your first line of meth and cocaine at 24?
A friend said, "Oh, this will help you focus. You're having trouble studying?" I was having trouble studying because cocaine was not helping me study like I wanted to. "Oh, this will give you much better focus. You'll be able to study better."
So wait a second. So you first started with cocaine.
Right.
So you first started with cocaine, then that wasn't working.
I wasn't getting the good grades. I was getting C's and B's, and I wanted A's.
And so then they said, here, let's take it up a notch, and let me introduce you to meth.
Right. You'll be able to sit still longer. You'll be able to really focus. You'll be able to study for hours. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Back in the days when people were doing black beauties and speed in college to study a bit more.
I think those were
before the internet, before everything was answered on the internet for you, when you really had to do work.
Yeah, exactly, right? Before you could cheat.
Right?
But yeah, I know. It's I don't even want to talk about that. My daughter has told me the different ways that people get to cheat while they're in college. It's ridiculous. Okay, so, oh my gosh. So here you were an aspiring kid who's got a grandfather who's a self-made multi-millionaire who's putting you through college, and you're wanting to impress him, and that then drives you to the first person who says, here, this will help you focus, try some cocaine. Oh, you're not focused anymore? Here, try some meth. And you were addicted for 5 straight years. 5
straight years, yes, until I was 29. And I began to have paranoid delusions. I worked for the president of MCI, actually.
Wow.
Answering complaint letters directed to the president and the executives of the company. I worked in the upper echelons of a major corporation in Arlington, Virginia.
Wow.
And, I had a lot of power and authority there, and I just started to, begin to hallucinate, to be honest.
That's scary, too.
Silly stuff.
Like what? Tell me.
well, the sales department is not doing the right thing, and they're going to get us all in trouble, and they're publishing things they shouldn't be publishing, and they're not telling the truth, and, just silliness. And it was all in my head.
It was all in your head. So then you would bring this stuff to the executive's attention. Did you ever get found? I mean, wait a second. So like you're answering to the president, and you're responding to email that's coming to the president.
Yes,
you're working in
Fortunately, I had a lower level boss that I told all this to, and she knew something was not right with me. I never told the president. I was smart enough to keep my mouth shut to that person, but...
No, but what I'm saying is that you answer to him, and yet you are doing meth. You're doing meth, and you're working in a high-level corporate job. You're highly educated, and fortunately, I'm a good writer, and I have great diplomatic skills, so I could fake it. And so until you were hallucinating to the point where you couldn't fake it anymore.
Right, and my boss actually said, you need to take some time off.
So that was the conversation.
Yeah, you need some rest. Something's not right. You need to take some time off. And I really knew that I needed to get right anyway, because I had all kinds of disasters in my personal life and my relationships. And I actually met with a social worker because I couldn't keep my head together. And she said, you need to see a counselor. And, I told her I was using these drugs. And she said, well, you've got to go to rehab and get clean, because this is why your life's a mess. I had no idea.
Really?
I was totally, that smart and that stupid at the same time. Really. I had no idea. I had to have a social worker tell me, if you're abusing these drugs, they're messing with your chemical imbalance in your brain, and you do need to get clean. And you know what my thought? 30 days in a rehab and my life will be better? No problem. Sign me up. Sign me up. But it became a new life now, see?
Yeah.
Being clean and sober is all about a new life. It's all about a new lifestyle. It's about, I went to 12-step programs for 5 years, and I did exactly what I was told. I was a very good student.
Of course.
I went to AA, I went to CA, I went to NA, I went to church. I got a relationship with Jesus Christ, and he totally transformed my life. Yep.
Wendy, you're giving hope to some people right now.
I'm telling you that you can do it. God will help. Millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people are getting free. Yes. And it's not that AA's right and the church is right, because I had this debate, who's right. It's wherever you're most comfortable.
That's right.
And wherever you can receive what you need.
Yes. Yes. And AA is built on the same principles. The 12-step program is totally based on the Bible. So it's all the same.
It's a process of repentance in black and white for those of us who are too stupid or our brains are too fried to understand the Word of God in the beginning. We get it. We get our spiritual education in AA.
Amen. Amen.
God trained me in AA for 5 years, and then I went into my church and began a Christian recovery program there for 7 years, which I ran.
Yes. Oh, my gosh, Wendy, you are so inspirational to me, especially as a kid who grew up around all these drugs and hoped and prayed for that to come clean. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Do you feel like you're under pressure to perform? Where is that pressure coming from? And what do you do to relieve it? Dani's going to talk about it next on The Dani Johnson Show. More resources, more training, more results. The DaniJohnson.com Insider Membership is your ultimate success shortcut. Get exclusive access to reports, videos, audios, ebooks, cheat sheets, and other training for your personal and professional life. This is truly DaniJohnson.com's best kept secret. Become an Insider member today and get on the fast track to success.
Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org.
Did you know you can take the Dani Johnson Show with you wherever you go? It's never been easier to stay up to date with the latest content from Dani with the DaniJohnson.com app. Watch or listen in the car, at the gym, or on the go. Download it now from the App Store and Google Play and never miss a show again. Your family, business, and bank account will thank you.
Hi, I'm Dani Johnson. The most common question I get usually are from people who are trying to juggle their life. They've got kids who are involved in all kinds of activities. They've got business or their job, finances, trying to get out of debt, plus all their church activities and all the volunteer activities. And they're pulling their hair out going, how do I juggle this all? Man, I once lived just like that until I learned Time Secrets. Time Secrets showed me how to be able to cut my hours from 100 hours a week that I was working down to 20 hours a week and tripled my income as a direct result with what I learned. Time Secrets also showed me how to get my priorities in order, which healed up my marriage. And I became a mother that I was proud of versus becoming the mother I didn't want to be. And so if you feel like your world is running around in all kinds of different circles, you can fix that. Call 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880 for Time Secrets.
Faith, hope, love, and sometimes a good swift kick. You'll find them all here. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
The facade of success. Yeah. Can drive us to do the craziest things. As we just heard from Wendy from Baltimore, Maryland, a former meth addict, that the facade of success drove her into drugs. She's a college student, a straight A student, successful, then ends up in a corporate job, answering to the president of MCI, which was a very, very successful telecommunications company back in the day. That makes me sound so old. I remember MCI. They is gone now. Anyway, yeah, it drives us to do the craziest things, the facade, which is why we have this show. You really got to sit down and look at what's driving you, what your motive is for going towards it. Because in the case with Wendy, when she was young, she felt like she had to live up to some kind of pressure because the person who was putting her through college. I'm sure that her grandfather in a million years never wanted her to touch a single drug to be able to get straight A's in college. But according to Wendy, in that young frame of mind, that was going to be success for her. Wow. If you are just now joining us, you missed such a powerful segment. Here's what you can do. Once this show is over, you can watch the replay of it. You can watch it on YouTube. You can watch it on our website, DaniJohnson.com. Yeah, in fact, you can go there. Go to DaniJohnson.com. You'll see right on the top, it says show, and you can see today's program right there. Wow. I'm in awe. I'm like struck by the words that she just spoke. So we're talking about, can we function on drugs? Do people function on drugs? Now listen, like to me, that is like, what? Like that is such a collision, right? Isn't it? Functional drug addicts in the marketplace. How's that possible? Jill, I'm not even going to butcher your last name, but you're calling in. Thank you. You said your last name perfectly. Okay. So you're from Alaska. I know you just heard what Wendy was sharing. So what's your story on this?
Well, it's interesting that what she was saying was like so. I've got goosebumps right now. So parallel to
really. Tell me about
my
that.
Experience. Well, my first introduction to methamphetamine, which they called it crank in the day.
Yep.
I'm
I remember.
Years old. I'm 52 years old, so we're going back some years. I was 13.
What?
And my Yeah, and
what?
My mom left me with responsibility of a house in Lake Havasu, Arizona. She went off with. My mom's been married 5 times, so it was dad number 3, and they were off trekking, driving truck, and I was always given responsibility at a young age, like 8 years old. I remember taking care of my brother alone, or waking up and my mom not being home, and my mom she smoked weed, and there was times when I came home and maybe they were doing mushrooms or something. So yeah. I was exposed to, it was like acceptable. But even at some point my mom said, if you're going to do drugs, we prefer you to bring it home so we can make sure that you're not doing it.
Yeah, or I want you to share with us, honey.
Right.
Hey, wait a second. Are you my sister or something? Did we grow up in the same house?
I was telling everybody, yeah, I know you. We went to different schools together.
We had to. We must have came from the same womb, but a different one, because what you just said sounded really familiar. Yeah, like my mom was definitely the one that put the first joint in my hand, and definitely gave the first. Well, my sister stole my parents' weed, so they made their own joints without my parents knowing. But she was the first to put a pill in my mouth. You know what I mean? So I get that. I absolutely get that. Yeah. Wow. So hold on a second. So you came from a household like I did, right? So, and I love what you said. It was like it was accepted. Drugs was accepted. It was just part of your life, right? It was just the normal thing of how you live. And you know what I think is really sad? There's a lot of people have judged drug addicts, but never looking beyond the struggle and seeing where did that come from. So in your case, this was your reality. This was okay. When we continue, I have to take a short break. When we continue, I want to hear more about, as a 13-year-old, being left home alone a lot. Mom is trucking with the husband number 3. You've been exposed to drugs as this is normal, just like bread and butter, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and let's have some crank. Yes. Right? Yeah. Right? So,
which totally knocks out the peanut butter and jelly.
Exactly. What's normal? It's like popcorn and crank. That's just the house I grew up in. No, I get that. I absolutely get that. It's really a really powerful thought when you think about it, because some people have never been exposed to something like that. And so many people that didn't grow up like you and me, they totally take for granted the purity of the home that they were in, and they treat their parents bad, which is really sad. So we're going to continue with more and hearing more from Jill from Alaska right after this.
Be sure to tell a friend about the Dani Johnson Show. It just might be the key to the breakthrough they need.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.
Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First steps to success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, I was working 60 to 75 hours a week. I was completely stressed out. I was incredibly angry with my husband. We were in over $350,000 worth of debt. By applying the strategies that Dani teaches, in the last 3.5 years, we have paid off $170,000 in debt. We are no longer roommates, and we no longer spend every single cent that we make. We now have made tens of thousands of dollars in passive income in investments. We are on the right track. We're traveling around the world together, and we are building homes for those who really need it. So I don't know about you, but if you want to cut back from 60 to 20 and 30 hours a week, if you want to mend some relationships, if you want to make your life more efficient and a lot more fun, and you want to be the best version of you, I highly recommend that you get registered, because your life is about to change.
Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, first steps to success in creating dynasty, my wife and I were really lost. We were struggling in a relationship. We were struggling financially, drowning in debt. Our relationship was really broken. We were in a bad place. We were living in two completely different states and not really honoring each other. Once we got plugged into the community, we noticed a shift in our lives. Most importantly, we came together as a husband and wife. That was the first thing we did. And when we finally came together under the same roof, things started to change. Over the past 3 years, we've been able to pay off over $495,000 in debt. I know in my business, I've had a job created for me that increased my income by 50%. That has actually opened up the door to allow my wife and I to spend more time with each other. So I don't know where you are. I don't know if your relationship is super awesome. I don't know if your job is immaculate. I don't know if you're debt-free. But what I do know is if you're not any one of those things, your next step is to get plugged into DaniJohnson.com. Go on the website, get plugged into the community. I promise you, your life will never be the same.
Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, I was a broke college student, drowning in debt, and I felt like the world was crashing all around me, and I had bad relationships. Since plugging into DaniJohnson.com and First Steps to Success, I was able to pay off $6,600 in 4 months. Now I'm able to give 10% of my income to wherever my heart desires. I actually, using the skills that I learned from Dani, I actually landed a job before I graduated college, and I'm able to travel the world. All I know is if you're serious about annihilating your debt, traveling the world, helping people, and having fun doing so, I highly recommend you get registered for the next First Steps to Success. Do it now, don't wait, don't even thinking about it. If you're ready to change your life, just do it.
We went to our first ever First Steps to Success just 10 weeks ago, and it has definitely been life-changing ever since.
We felt like we got hit by a 2x4, but it was the best 2x4 because what we realized is that our priorities were clearly out of line. I had been building a home-based business and had been working 80 to 100 hours, and I realized that that is not my role, and that I had actually taken my husband's, and it was that realization that something had to change, and we immediately went home and changed everything. There was no hesitation. We said, you know what, we need to be obedient to God.
And we've implemented the tools day one. We started implementing what Dani taught us, invested in ourselves, invested in our kids, got our priorities in line. We've now actually paid off just not quite $60,000 in debt and looking at a couple more investments here as head of the household.
It's been absolutely incredible. So I just encourage you, if any of this speaks to you, if you're wanting to get out of debt, if you're wanting better communication, if you're wanting to elevate to the higher level of life, get to First Steps to Success and plug into DaniJohnson.com.
What multimillionaire do you know that volunteers their time to help ordinary people like you and me? There's only one. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
A 13-year-old growing up in a home where, you know, crank and weed and everything else is just, that's like the norm. Kind of like popcorn and ice cream and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I know that seems absurd to you, but the only reason why it's absurd to you is because you didn't grow up in the house that Jill did. You didn't grow up in the house that I did. because my parents rolled gigantic Cheech and Chong joints, and if you're my age, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, these were just huge. There was these two guys that had these movies. They were comedies about two guys that smoked weed all the time. Their cars were completely smoked out. That's how I got brought to school every day. Yeah, and our first year moving up to a tiny little town in Northern California, went to this itty bitty little school. There was no buses or anything, so they brought us. Literally, we showed up at 7:30 in the morning, windows rolled up. My parents, come on, roasting a bowl as they're driving us for 15 minutes to school. All the smoke in there. We got into class. I was in 8th grade at a brand new school. This is how I'm dropped out of a brand new school. Guess what I smell like? I smell like weed. Whatever. But that was my norm. No small wonder that my sisters carried on the tradition. I fortunately did not. Jill, okay, so you said you started doing drugs at 13 years old.
Right.
What was the first drug at 13?
Meth.
Meth?
Yep. Well, crank. Yeah.
Crank, same thing. Crank.
Yeah.
So you just like dove right in at the top, baby.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was always mature for my age, so I always hung out with the older crowd. And at the time, I lived in a little town in Arizona called Lake Havasu, which there wasn't much to do. I mean, I thought it was a death sentence when we were moving there. My grandparents were very successful, moved there from Michigan and had a construction company. So that was another thing. I had to you know, my mom was always, you know, your grandparents live here, so they know a lot of people, so your behavior is key to. But see, my mom didn't know that I did crank. They smoked weed, which was totally acceptable, and acid and stuff like that.
And mushrooms, you said earlier.
Yeah, right. But I don't think she was ever aware that I was you know, introduced to that.
Wow. And how long were you on meth?
On and off till about 2 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
So you start. Who was the first person to give it to you? Who was the first person that gave you the meth?
Well, just a kid that I hung out with.
Where the heck did they get it?
Well, you know, out in the desert, it was manufactured out there a lot. So if you were, if a family member was cooking it or whatever, you know, I never asked where it came from. I just knew where to go to get it.
Wow. But you just got it in your hands at 13. And so can you remember the very first time doing it?
Oh, yeah.
And you were hooked.
The living room. Oh, yeah. We used to sit up playing spades all night long, listening to my mom's record collection. And they were gone on the road. So, you know, like I moved my boyfriend in, I moved my best friend in, and we had graduated 8th grade, and in Arizona at the time, you didn't have to have your parents' permission to quit school. I made it 2 weeks into my 9th grade, and I decided that I was going to quit school. My mom came home, and oh my God, she was just like,
wasn't happy.
I got a dog. Well, you know, I was like to put in an adult role, so I was going to be an adult.
Wow.
And then, you know, I had.
So tell me this. What was the result of, I mean, was that 30 years of doing crystal meth? What impact did it have on your life?
Impact? Well, I mean, I obtained very successful positions throughout my lifetime.
Wow.
But, you know, I'd pick up using, and it would take, I mean, it took me as far as I thought I was that invincible that I went to Australia with 3 kilos of cocaine packed to my body. Yeah, at the age of 32, left my, at the time, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, and 8-year-old with my brother, thinking, well, I'll be home in a week. And justified it that I was a single mom, and I was offered a good chunk of change to do this transaction. And I used to sell weed and travel with large quantities. So what was the difference of taking
cocaine?
Yeah, to another country.
Wow.
And so I was arrested over there, and I did a prison sentence. And I actually was hired and participated in a TV show over there. That I got a really good job with a company over there and had works release and saved a bunch of money and came home.
Oh my gosh. So how many years did you not see your kids?
4 years.
Oh my gosh, Mommy. That had to be so painful.
And I'm still paying for it today.
I know.
My middle son, he won't even talk to me right now because I had, picked up using, but it's taken me to places where I was homeless, living under a freeway in Southern California, like almost a year ago. So now I'm in Alaska, and I know it was God working in my life because I took a position with Princess Holland America to come work out here for the summer, and I wasn't happy working with that corporation, so I found my way to this little town, and there was a hostel that it was $20 a night to stay there. And the woman that owned it, when she pulled up to give me a ride, her license plate said Step, and I knew that right then. And that was in July. By August, I was working for her and working for another place, and started going to meetings with her again, and just decided to stay here. I met somebody in this field that, that. It brought me here to take me out of my, even with Australia, in order for me to overcome things, it's like my higher power says, all right, I'm just going to take you totally out of the equation.
Yeah. I'm going to take you out. Yeah. Take you away from all of those influences and the access. And not that there isn't access where you're at.
Access.
But the point is,
today
the point is that you've surrounded yourself with a different people. and have started a new life. Man, congratulations, Jill. Thank you so much for having the courage to share. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that your mom left you at 13 to be the, to be the adult in the household. And I know if she could turn back the hands of time, she probably would have done things very, very differently for sure.
Yeah, and we all say that,
We do.
Hindsight is 2020, but and I look at it as it's a positive. I turn it into a positive and don't dwell on I could have, should have, would have, because there's no going back.
No, man. I hear the humility in your heart and the clarity of your mind. Thank you so much for sharing with me. I learned a lot. I learned a lot hearing from you, and it takes so much courage and vulnerability to do what you just did, and I know that you helped somebody today. Thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks
God
for
bless.
having me.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, we've got Theresa from California.
Hi, Dani.
Hi. So, Theresa, what's your story?
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so I am just thrilled to speak with you. I am so passionate about this subject.
Really? Why are you passionate about the functioning drug addicts?
Well, first of all, you posed the question, how could someone hold down a job as a functioning alcoholic/drug addict? When you asked that question, I was actually surprised that you're surprised.
What do you mean, Theresa? See, my mom never worked, right? Do you see what I mean?
Okay.
So from my little world, right, of growing up in a house of drug addicts, my stepfather, who I thought was my real dad, and he was my dad, but he wasn't my biological father, and my mom. So it was the norm to be around drugs, and no one functioned. Do you know what I mean? It was all abuse. Do you know what I mean? They didn't work. Yeah. They lived off of welfare. You know what I'm saying? And then my mom broke her neck, and then she got a settlement. So that wasn't called functioning. And then, of course, my sisters did the same thing. My sisters did the same exact thing. And my sister Marty died at 21 in a head-on collision with two semis, doing a drug run for crank for my mom and dad, or stepdad.
Oh, my God.
And then my other sister, Rhonda, has been in and out of jail her entire life since she was 13 years old. She got caught with drugs, which was my parents' drugs, and my parents let her get in trouble for it, which is amazing. So then she was in a group home. So was my sister Marty. Both of these guys were in group homes. And then so when she turned 18, I moved her in with me, and she got right back into drugs. And literally, she is. Let's see. She just turned 46. Yeah, she just turned, 47. She just turned 47. And still, I mean, she's been homeless off and on. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's my understanding. So when I talk to Jen Kimura,
that's your vision.
That's my reality, right? So when I talked to this former prostitute, I was like, you worked a job? You did meth and you worked a job. How is that even possible?
Exactly. Exactly. So my reality was, I grew up in Orange County in a McMansion. My mother was the quintessential Barbie on the outside and Tyrant on the inside.
Hold on. Wait. Time out. You can't just say that. You can't just keep going like we went over a speed bump there. The quintessential Barbie and Tyrant on the inside. Let's just think about that for 1 second. And wait, before we return back, because we got to go to a quick break, what I want you to do, Theresa, is I want you to give me an example how Barbie was a tyrant at home. Okay? I want you to tell me what that looked like and sounded like. This is Dani Johnson. Okay. We'll continue with more right after this.
Coming up next, find out what hidden drugs did to Theresa's family. You won't believe what happened next. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.
Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First Steps to Success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
So 4 years ago in July, we showed up to our first Dani Johnson event, our first Steps to Success. And we were completely desperate in every area of our life. At the time, I thought it was just because of our finances, but then I figured out pretty quickly that it was because of my lack of people skills that we were where we were. We sat in the front row. We got fast track, and we sat in the front row, right in the center, next to some amazing people, because we were so hungry, so desperate, so broken, and I pretty much cried through the entire event, honestly. And when she did the War on Debt, which she will show you, this afternoon, I went back immediately and got it. She had just started talking. I heard a couple stories, and I was like, if they can do it, I know we can do it. So we went back and got it and listened to it on the way home in the car, because we drove from Michigan all the way to Missouri. So we listened to it in the car, and when we got home, we immediately got our papers out. We wrote down our plan, and we started applying it. And within 14 months, we paid off over $62,000 worth of debt. We never in a million years thought that was possible. There's so much that has happened in the last 4 years, and I'm the person that wants the results immediately. I don't like the process of getting there. I want to just get there. But I've learned to appreciate the process over the last 4 years, and just seeing the transformation that has happened in us. Personally, we individually experienced different things, and we experienced a lot of things together. I was paying our bills. I was completely disrespectful to my husband and didn't really know how bad it actually was. And so that part of our life is still improving. I can say we're a work in progress. It takes time, and we have grown so much.
We showed up. My wife, I didn't know this at the time, but she was battling thoughts of suicide. I had no idea. I thought I was being a perfectly good husband. I did my best to serve her, be a great guy. But what she needed was somebody who would step up and be a leader in our marriage. That's not who I was. And I was totally emasculated, physically emasculated by, there's someone in our church, the pastor. And so we felt the brokenness of a church, having to leave and just hurt, and devastated. One of the biggest breakthroughs started in our marriage is when Lucy started being a wife to me. And I, as a leader, I should step up, right? Take action first, be the initiator. She did it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a completely different person. And I can tell you, our marriage has just, it's amazing, the difference between her feeling suicidal, me stepping down as a leader, to me taking the initiative and just looking her in the eyes and saying, honey, thank you for allowing me to be your leader. And she just melts every time. This is awesome. So. So let me just tell you this, guys. If you're struggling, or you're broke, you're wondering what your next step is, hey, just take action. Follow those notes that you just took. Take action and do it, because your story is going to be here, and people are going to be inspired by your story. So are y'all ready to take notes? All right, let's do this. Help me welcome Miss Dani Johnson, America's favorite millionaire, to the stage.
The way you look at things is about to change. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Barbie on the outside? Tyrant on the inside? What a picture. We're talking about functional addicts in the workplace. What a concept, right? To me, that seems like totally impossible. Listen, if you are just now joining us, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. We talk about success in your everyday life, in every area of your life. And so the drive for success, we are finding out today through our callers that has actually driven some people to drugs to get better grades and so on and move themselves up the corporate ladder. But then everything starts crashing down. So we're talking about defining success for you. and some of our choices that we've made in the past that has led us to destruction, even though in the beginning it seems fun. In the beginning it seems like it's going to work. In the beginning it seems like it's a good thing. And then you find out it's really not. So joining me from California is Theresa. She was just telling me about her mom, who was Barbie on the outside living in Orange County, but she was a tyrant on the inside. Tell me how, Theresa.
Yes. So my mom, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, the full plastic surgeon on speed dial at all times. Back in the 80s, first cell phone the size of
a brick.
The brick cell phone in her 928 Porsche. And I wasn't allowed to open the middle console because it was filled with pills. Like, she would speed around the corners and you would hear like clink, 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 clink. And it would be the pills that were like shattering around in the car. And she would be driving at like Mach speed to drop me off at school, which was always late, screaming and yelling, get your, in private school, of course, private school. And then she would be running my demasculated stepfather, who was just like your first segment, talk about demasculated.
Yes.
You imagine her as a dog that was like urinating over every single thing that he ever had. That's what she did to his entire empire that he had when she met him. And she turned it into her space of fluff and sparkle on the outside.
Ew.
But on the inside, it was crazy town. She would, the pills and the alcohol and the ups and the downs and the screaming at home and the pretend like everything is great and fabulous on the outside, treat us, my sister and I, who, God bless her soul, went to her dying bed, not speaking to my mom for over 15 years after having jumped out the window at 15 years old, dying of cancer. My mom having not seen her because she refused to be around such a horrendous human being. Me, Theresa Ananias, insert doormat on forehead, has tried my entire life to help mother, to fix her, to make her better, to take the pills, to hide the pills, to throw them away, to pretend like everything's okay, put the smile on, everything's great, and get the straight A's. I got straight A's, and I won every contest, and I was an actor and a model, and I married the Prince Charming, but guess who he ended up being?
No.
Prince Charming on the outside, psychopath on the inside. So I married my dad. I married my mom twice.
Whoa.
And
I can relate, Theresa, to so much of what you're saying.
You can?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Married her twice, and I moved away thinking that I would get away from her. For 18 years, I got away from her, and I went through the whole, I'm watching The Housewives, and I'm going to go to TJ Maxx and pretend like I'm a housewife, and cool, I'm going to buy some fluffy pillows. And
so when you say the functioning drug addicts, so meaning that because your mom, well, I guess it's the same thing, right? So it's like putting on a facade, right? So she's taking the uppers, the downers, all the pills. My parents did the same thing, or my mom and my stepfather did the same thing. I hate saying that my parents, because my dad, shockingly, my biological father, who lives with me right now, he's amazing. We have an incredible relationship. We've been together for 31 years. Total restoration, crazy miracle, amazing relationship that we have. He didn't do any drugs. He didn't do that. So I hate lumping the parents thing together, but I get what you're saying. So when you say functioning, it's because on the outside, everything looks perfect. But the reality behind closed doors, everything is a disaster and kids' lives is being destroyed, which is absolutely terrible. Man, Theresa, thank you so much for sharing the intricacies of your story. You were hilarious, by the way. And I'm seeing the pictures in my head of the plastic surgeon. It's really awesome. We got Jodi from Colorado. What about you? Functioning drug addicts. Seems like those words shouldn't go together, but they do.
Hi, Dani.
Hi. What's your story?
Well, I started using meth when I was 14 years old.
Really? 14?
Yeah.
How? Who gave it to you?
Well, I started dating my then boyfriend, now husband.
Wow.
And we met when I was 13, and his family is very much like your family.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my family was really bad, so I was out on the streets early. And so my story is completely different. We did the drugs. We did the craziness. My first son was born when I was 15. We were high school dropouts, and this couple from Texas came into Colorado with this mission that they were going to help kids on the streets, hooked on drugs, gang members, and they were going to get them into school. They started an alternative Christian school. Really? And so they found us on the streets at like 3 o'clock in the morning one night and drug us into school, and they helped us get sober, helped us get our lives together, helped us to learn how to be parents, because we're teen parents. And so we go to school, we find Jesus, we actually get our lives together, we graduate, and we're just doing really good with our lives.
Oh my gosh.
Right after my second child was born, I woke up one morning and I was completely depressed. I couldn't shake it, and I've struggled with ADD all of my life. And of course, what is the option for ADD? They give you Adderall.
Drugs,
well, exactly. Yeah. And so I was depressed and couldn't shake it, and the depression grew, and I couldn't get better. And year after year, it kept lingering on to the point where I couldn't get out of bed. I lost my job. I couldn't take care of my house. Couldn't take care of my family. My marriage was falling apart. And the only option that I felt I had is I turned back to drugs.
Oh my God.
And started using meth again. And after that, I used on and off for years, was able to go back into the workforce, was able to work, was able to actually regain my life back, what I thought. And thought it was just a miracle in my life. It was medicinal for me. I thought I put on a show that nobody knew, and I would use every day and come home at the end of the night and smoke weed and drink alcohol just to bring myself back down. And then my kids became teenagers, and then along that road they started, my husband's family is still involved in all that, but we keep our lives kind of separate, still going to church, still Christian, still doing all this stuff. But they started venturing into that life, and I started realizing I'm supposed to be the role model of my home. I'm supposed to be leading my kids, and here I am doing the exact thing that I'm trying to keep them from doing. So that was kind of my aha moment.
Was your wake-up call?
That something needed to change.
Yes. I'm so proud of you, Jodi.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you. And I am so, thankful for that couple that came from Texas to go up to Colorado to get kids off the streets, that they planted that seed in you. They planted that seed in you. There you are with a baby at 15 years old and a drug addict, and to reach out and love. You see, that's Christianity in its best form. That's it right there. Just reaching out to those who've been forsaken and so lost and are hurting, and they did the right thing, and not for any glory to themselves, but that you would get to know who your maker is. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Don't go away. The next segment might just change your life. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
I just heard this amazing story. One of our clients had written us telling us that they had used job domination and unlimited success and has absolutely exploded their career. He said, Dani, I don't know where I'd be today without job domination and unlimited success. Listen, do you want more recognition from your coworkers? Do you want to be recommended to people all over the world? Do you want to be somebody that is highly sought after? Listen, if you're in a dead-end place where this gentleman found himself, but then learned new strategies and changed everything in his work life, and obviously this has resulted in higher bonuses and pay raises, you're next. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Job Domination right now. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Job domination. That's what you need. It's time for you to dominate the job market and break through the rut that you're in.
More resources, more training, more results. The DaniJohnson.com Insider Membership is your ultimate success shortcut. Get exclusive access to reports, videos, audios, ebooks, cheat sheets, and other training for your personal and professional life. This is truly DaniJohnson.com's best kept secret. Become an Insider member today and get on the fast track to success.
Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
So there you have it. Man, you come to a time in your life where you have that aha moment. As you just heard Jodi say, man, she'd done drugs off and on and realized when her kids started going off in that same exact lifestyle, she realized, what am I doing? What example am I setting? Jodi is now clean. Because of that aha moment. She had a pivotal experience. What's going to be yours? You see, it's so easy to look at people that are on drugs and judge them. But what's your drug? Is it debt? Is it a toxic marriage? Is it shopping? Is it drowning your sorrows behind video games? Is it the escape of entertainment? What's your drug? Is it Facebook? Any kind of social media? Is your drug work? You see, you heard different people share their stories. So vulnerable, so much humility in these people who shared today. So sweet. They come on and bare their soul like that. Are you still hiding? Are you still hiding? Thinking because you're not like them, but you are. Sure, you heard the same thing. It's pain that drove it or pressure that drove it. Today's the day you can change. Today's the day. I hope today was a show that was a pivotal experience for you. Now I want you to come and join us, a supportive community that gets results. Join us at the next First Steps to Success, January 19th, 20th, and 21st in San Diego, California. That will be a pivotal experience that will turn your entire life around. You want to be debt-free? In the next 5 to 7 years, we're going to show you something so simple. A child is doing it. Many children are holding their parents accountable, helping them. Do you want to have a marriage? It's not a facade, but true intimacy between you and your spouse, a hotter marriage? Come join us in San Diego. Even if it's just one of you, come join us in San Diego. Do you want to be that parent that you know when you wake up, you're like, you know what, I'm doing it right. I'm doing it right. And you know it deep in your heart versus just trying to justify your actions. Join us in San Diego. And by the way, if you haven't been to our website yet, if you haven't left us a comment about the show, please do that. DaniJohnson.com. That's where you can find out where the event is. That's also where you can find even prior shows. And if you care about others, then please save a life today. Save a life today and share this video. Share it in Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Share it on YouTube. Share it through email. Share it through text message. Copy the link that's on the webpage, DaniJohnson.com, or whichever way that you're seeing it right now, unless, of course, you're watching this on TV. Come over, get the link right on our website, and begin to share it. Let lives be changed. Join us on this mission of reaching 100 million lives and impacting them, bringing change into their lives. Help us do that by simply just sharing today's program. That's it for us. We're going to talk to you tomorrow and challenge you to reach for better success in your life. God bless.
If this episode was an encouragement to you, go to DaniJohnson.com and share it with your friends now. You never know who else needs to hear it. This has been the Dani Johnson Show. Join us every weekday at 7 a.m. for more insights that will help you get to the life you've always wanted.